The world's biggest traffic jam has begun. Over 150 cargo ships are waiting in the ocean, all hoping to take a shortcut through the Panama Canal. Interestingly, every ship is ready to pay $400,000 to the Panamanian government just to cross the canal, but the authorities are still not granting them permission. There's no maintenance work going on, nor is the canal closed for any other reason. Rather, the engineering marvel of the Panama Canal, once a global pride, is now in the midst of a massive crisis, and this battle is not with another country but with nature itself. But how exactly? Welcome back to another Fusion Art video. Today, we'll explore what's happening with the Panama Canal. Around the world, there are two main shortcuts for sea vessels. One is the Suez Canal in Egypt, which connects East Asian countries like China, Japan, Taiwan, and Singapore to Europe. Similarly, if these countries' ships want to go to the eastern US or eastern Canada, or if ships from Europe want to reach western US, they use another shortcut, the Panama Canal, located in Central America. There are about 50,000 cargo ships in the world, and 70% of them use these two shortcuts. This means that if there's any issue with either the Suez or Panama Canal, it could affect the entire world, just like we saw when the Ever Given ship blocked the Suez Canal for 6 days in 2021. If something similar happens in the future, ships will have to take longer routes, costing more time and fuel, and these extra costs will eventually fall on consumers like you and me. Shipping companies pay hefty toll taxes to use these canals and even put up with the authorities' demands. But why is there such a dependency on these canals, and why do we need them? For instance, imagine a ship from the UK wants to go to San Francisco on the US West Coast. It has two options. It could either sail across the North Atlantic, around the southern tip of South America at Cape Horn, and into the Pacific Ocean, finally reaching San Francisco. This route covers over 25,000 kilometers, taking about 28 days and consuming approximately 8 million liters of fuel. The total fuel cost would be around $32 million, which is roughly 260 crore rupees. The other option is to go from the UK to the Caribbean Sea, then use the Panama Canal to enter the Pacific Ocean and head to San Francisco. Using this shortcut, the distance reduces to about 14,000 kilometers, saving 44% of the journey. This also halves the fuel cost, saving millions of dollars. Now, you might think that using the Panama Canal is more cost-effective, which is why ships prefer it. However, that's not entirely true. Today, a ship passing through the Panama Canal pays around $400,000 in tolls, and sometimes this rate goes up to $800,000 to $1 million. Yet, shipping companies gladly pay this amount because the biggest advantage of using the Panama Canal is saving time. If ships took the longer route, they'd spend 15 to 20 extra days, which means that instead of making 24 trips a year, they could only make 12, cutting their bookings by 50%. In simple terms, time is money, and that's why shipping companies are willing to pay top dollar to pass through the Panama Canal, even if it means waiting in line for 5 or 10 days or dealing with the authorities. But now, there's a problem. Despite wanting to, Panama Canal authorities can't allow more ships to pass through. To understand why, we need to know how the Panama Canal works. The genius behind the canal's design was truly remarkable, but even they couldn't account for the forces of nature. The Panama Canal is located on a narrow strip of land about 30 kilometers wide in Central America, with oceans on either side. Unlike the Suez Canal, a simple channel couldn't be dug here because the land is 30 meters above sea level. Ships must first be raised 30 meters to the level of Gatun Lake, and then lowered back down on the other side. We're talking about cargo ships that weigh hundreds of thousands of tons. To lift such heavy ships, the canal uses locks, which function like a staircase. First, the gate of Lock 1 opens, and the ship enters. After closing the gate, water from Lock 2 is allowed into Lock 1, raising the ship without the need for any motor or pump, thanks to gravity. Once the water levels in both locks are equal, the middle gate opens, and the ship moves into Lock 2. This process repeats, and after 10-15 minutes, the ship has risen 30 meters to reach Gatun Lake. After traveling across the lake, it takes about 11 hours to reach the other coast, where another set of locks lowers the ship back down to sea level. It's important to note that both raising and lowering the ships use fresh water from Gatun Lake, which is also the drinking water source for the local population. A single ship passing through the canal wastes as much fresh water as 500,000 people drink daily. At its peak, 38 ships pass through the canal each day, wasting the daily water supply for 19 million people. Rainwater flowing from surrounding mountains replenishes the lake, which offsets the water wasted by ships. However, when the Panama Canal was built 110 years ago, no one anticipated what would happen if rainfall decreased. And that's the issue the Panamanian government is grappling with today. Every 7 years, the region experiences a dry spell with significantly reduced rainfall. This crisis is becoming more severe each time, and in 2023, there was almost no rain. The weather department predicts little rain in 2024 as well. Panama now has two options: either continue operating the canal or provide drinking water to its people. The canal generates $4.32 billion annually, a significant portion of Panama's GDP. If the canal shuts down, the economy suffers. If it stays open, there's a water crisis. To preserve water, the government has already reduced the number of ships passing through the canal from 38 to 18 per day and is only allowing ships with lighter loads to minimize water usage. As a result, ships are carrying 40% less cargo, and additional ships are needed to transport the rest, which has caused even longer waiting times at the canal. Some ships are waiting up to 15 days, especially those without advance bookings. Moreover, a 10% surcharge for freshwater usage is being added to the toll, further disturbing trade routes between Europe, the US West Coast, and East Asia. Several proposals have been made to solve this issue, including building interoceanic corridors where ships unload their cargo on one coast, and the containers are then transported by truck or train to the other coast for reloading onto another ship. However, in South America, the Andes mountain range poses a massive barrier, making it nearly impossible to build rail or road networks. A similar corridor is currently under construction in Mexico, where a 190-kilometer strip between two oceans is being developed with rail networks and modern ports. This $2.85 billion project is expected to be completed by 2030, offering a faster and cheaper alternative to the Panama Canal. While Mexico's project looks promising, it will take years to become fully operational. For now, the Panama Canal's future remains uncertain. Rain might return, allowing the canal to operate at full capacity again, but for how long? Climate change is real, and fighting it is beyond anyone's control. Thanks for watching this Fusion Arc video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and share. We appreciate your love-filled comments. See you in the next exciting video. 4-0